Hey everyone, welcome to the Royce Reports. I am your host Royce, and on today's video, we're going to be talking about the Game Awards because Xbox was very present at the Game Awards this year, and they had a lot of announcements. So let's talk about it. If you like everything Xbox and you like talking about games a little bit too much, then you're in the right place, and be sure to hit that subscribe button, not once, not twice, but 3 times, because if you hit it twice, then you unsubscribe. So hit it a 3rd time to subscribe. That's how it works, right? Anyways, Game Awards. Now, a lot of people were speculating that Xbox was going to be at the Game Awards in a big way, and I had my reservations. I remember telling you there's a video I have talking about what could possibly be announced there, that some of the Xbox content creators were kind of releasing little tidbits here and there, and I was getting excited because of the hype that they were building, and I was trying so hard to not be hyped because I know how this always leads up. This always leads up to these Xbox content creators hyping up these events, and then when the event happens, they always go and they try to save face, right? And an example that I have, and this is no shot towards Colt Eastwood, I love his content, I like what he does, and he is another great content creator for Xbox. But during the Game Awards, he announced that, hey, Xbox announced all these things, and then there was one more thing left. And then after the game show, everyone was like, well, what was that other thing? And he ended up saying, oh, Monster Hunter was the other thing, which doesn't really make any sense because that's not really something that would have been a surprise or something that would have had people excited in regards to Xbox, like, because Monster Hunter's already been on Xbox before. It's not new that if it continues to be on Xbox. But regardless, whether or not they hyped it up or not, I still think it was able to surprise me, and it was just a fantastic showing. And my expectations, which were already pretty high, they crushed it with just one announcement, and that's all it took. But before we get into the big 3 announcements that they had at the Game Awards, we got to talk about the Game Awards, right? The awards themselves. And Xbox actually walked away with 3 Game Awards at this event. Forza ended up walking away with 2, and Hi-Fi Rush ended up walking away with 1. So Forza ended up getting Innovation and Accessibility Award, and it ended up getting Best Racing / Sports Game, and then Hi-Fi Rush walked away with Best Audio Design. Now, I think that Hi-Fi Rush might have been snubbed, but that's just me. That's just me. The Game Awards, a lot of people felt that the pacing was kind of off in terms of getting these people who created these games the time to speak. And I think that's very important. It seems like a lot of the people felt that they didn't really have enough time to say what they wanted to say. And I think that maybe could have potentially ruined one of the surprises that Xbox had in store. And that's what we're going to lead into now. Before we get to the big 3, we got to talk about the announcements that are sprinkled in there, the little tiny tidbits that you should probably know about. Baldur's Gate 3 is now on Xbox Series X and S for purchase. It's not in Game Pass, but it's now on the console for you to purchase if you'd like. I bought it myself just to support them because of the amount of work they've done, and also because they deserve it. They are a very solid team, and they seem to be reaping all of what they've sowed, and they deserve every little bit of it. But a lot of people were expecting this to be announced at the Game Awards. Xbox even tweeted at Larian Studios saying, see you at the Game Awards, and there was no announcement. Instead, they announced it after the fact. So I think that there was supposed to be an announcement at some point. It either got cut short, they either forgot. I'm not really sure. I don't know how you forget something that you make a deal with a publisher to release your game onto the Xbox, especially since the Xbox fans have been so vocal about it not being on the Xbox platform. But nonetheless, it has now been placed on the Xbox platform for you to go enjoy. So check that out if you want to support Larian, or don't. That's all up to you. So first up, Harmonium the Musical is going to be coming to Game Pass. Now, this is a game that is designed for people who are hard of hearing or deaf, and allows them to be able to play a musical game. And I guess they really invested a lot of time into trying to get the controls and how you play the game just right for people with those disabilities. It might not be for me, but all the songs that showed off during the trailer kind of made me wish I was deaf. And that is going to be a day one Game Pass drop. Persona 3 Reload got a brand new trailer and it looks phenomenal. It's a series that I still need to get into and jump into. I know I hear a lot of people saying how great Persona is, and I want to get involved with this. I love the art style. I'm not sure about the gameplay. I am kind of new to things like that sort of turn-based type feel. But this looks awesome, and it's also coming to Game Pass, so be on the lookout for when that launches, early 2024. Metaphor Fantasio is not necessarily coming to Game Pass, but it does have Xbox marketing, the same with Persona, and it's another Atlus game. And this game is coming to Xbox day and date. I'm assuming it's coming to other platforms, and that's sort of a first for Atlus because they've kind of been late to the party. And I know that Persona 3 is also launching at the same time as everything else, but this is a brand new IP for them. And this game actually really sold me with this trailer. I, again, know how cool Persona looks, and they just grabbed that and kind of put it into a setting that makes me more interested than it would be just having a slice of life / high school type feel to it. And I am sold on this, and I kind of want to get my hands on it. I might do that. Who knows? I'm still backlogged on Persona. I still need to play the Yakuza series, and it seems like Yakuza is coming out of the game every other week at this point. So I am falling further and further behind, and I need to catch up. So it doesn't really help that Metaphor is coming out next year as well. And it's really cool to see that Xbox has the marketing rights for this. It just means that the relationship is building between Sega and Japan, and trying to build an audience over there in Japan. Moon Studios has a brand new game called No Rest for the Wicked. Now, this is not an exclusive, nor is it coming to Game Pass, but Moon Studios has previously worked with Xbox on the Ori games, and it seems really cool that they still have a decent relationship despite the fact that they kind of let them loose because of the controversy that was happening over at Moon Studios with the whole crunch culture that they had. So it's good that they still have a good sort of relationship. This game looks pretty good. It looks pretty solid, but we'll see. But it's going to be available to everybody everywhere. But I thought you'd like to know just because it's a previous studio that they used to work with. Visions of Mana is a Square Enix game that is also coming to Xbox, which is really cool because this is a franchise that has never really been on Xbox. So it launching day and date along with the other consoles is a win in my book. It's still not Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7, but it's something. And hopefully this partnership that they have going on kind of leads into more things down the road. And speaking of things down the road, Final Fantasy 16 got a trailer for some DLC. Now, obviously, this is more PlayStation-centric game since it is exclusive to PlayStation, but there's a nice little thing at the very end of the trailer. The exclusive has a sort of clause with it stating 12/31/2023, and after that, it can go on other platforms. Now, it doesn't really necessarily state what platforms it'll be allowed to go on, but it does say that the exclusivity run for PlayStation will be ending this year, and that could potentially mean we're getting Final Fantasy 16 on Xbox, or it might just mean that Square Enix is going to do what they did with Final Fantasy 7 Intergrade and do the exact same thing, because Intergrade, when they showed a trailer for that, they said the exact same thing, kind of the same verbiage as they are with this trailer, Final Fantasy 16 DLC, and it still hasn't come to Xbox to this day, but it did release on PC. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they hear us. Phil Spencer hears us. He knows we want Final Fantasy on Xbox. He knows we want Banjo-Kazooie on Xbox. Yeah, you heard it here second, because this was coming from a Phil Spencer interview earlier in the week. But I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about the Game Awards. Hold your horses. I might talk about that later. You would know if you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and follow me on Twitter at The Royce Reports. You would know these things. All right, moving on. So those were all the small announcements that I think were kind of cool to see, right? It had Xbox attached to certain things that you wouldn't normally see Xbox attached to, And you got a few, well, mostly just one Game Pass announcement, or I guess Persona Reload as well, even though we kind of already knew that. But still getting some Game Pass announcements at the Game Awards, and even a new Game Pass trailer. And now we can talk about the big three, the things that kind of made this game show for me. It actually, these three announcements really did do a number, and I think we're probably at the point now, looking back at it, those are the only really big trailers that I saw that I was like, man, these are the games I'm looking forward to, and they just happen to be coming to Xbox exclusively. So first things first, was talk about Hellblade. So you saw the Hellblade 2 trailer. It looked fantastic, in my opinion. It looks gorgeous. There's some spots in the game where I can't even determine whether or not that's real or if that's film. Like, that's how good it looks to me. Like the moment where it has Senua walking behind some guy, I was blown away with how detailed that looks. It looks extremely realistic, and that's awesome. And it's running on the Series X, which is a great thing. And I'm glad that they finally showed some combat. And that's where my enjoyment of the trailer kind of sizzled, because if you've watched my other videos, I've talked about this before. Whenever I talk about Hellblade, I always talk about the negative aspect of Hellblade for me was the combat. It's very cut and dry. It's very simple. It's basic combat. And I know that Ninja Theory does combat well. We've seen it before. We've seen it with DMC, and we've seen it with Enslaved Odyssey to the West. They know how to do combat. They're not strangers to it. And Kung Fu Chaos. Everybody was Kung Fu fighting. So why isn't Senua? And that's my concern. And when I saw the combat in this trailer, it looks like more of the same that we've already seen from Hellblade. And, you know, is it the make or break for the game for me? Not at all, right? Because the way I view it is you have story and then you have gameplay. And both of these can triumphant over one another and make me enjoy the game, right? If a story is really good to the point where I don't really care about the gameplay, then I'm going to continue to play the game regardless if the gameplay is bad or good, right? But if the gameplay is phenomenal and I enjoy playing it just because of the gameplay itself, then the story can kind of fall to the wayside a little bit. And there's a nice balance between these things. And I don't think that Hellblade's combat is bad, but they announced Hellblade 2 at the beginning of this generation. In fact, before this generation, along with the Xbox Series X. And so I thought that all of that time spent would be spent kind of upgrading the combat, kind of pumping money into this thing, allowing it to be bigger and better than it ever has been, because they have Microsoft at their side. And the game looks phenomenal, and it looks way better than the first one, in my opinion. Like, it looks really good, but the combat just doesn't seem like it's improved that much. And you can see small improvements like the fluidity of the combat. It looks like they've added more combos for her. She seems to be doing more moves, and that's always a win. That's awesome, cool. But I was expecting more than that. I was expecting a deeper sense of combat, and especially since they talked about and hyped up the fact that the voice actress is training for all of this, and that she's, you know, training with all these ancient weapons. And it's like, okay, well, let's see that. And this is what we get. And so I was kind of bummed by that a little bit. I'm not sure how you guys feel. I'm not sure if combat really matters to you, especially since Hellblade is a more focused narrative. But I love the direction they're taking this, because this trailer feels like the first trailer that sold the game to me. All the other trailers that I've seen were kind of like tech demos almost, that I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I can't wait for them to show more. And I've always wanted that from them, was more. And this trailer was that. They finally showed some combat, and they showed some pieces of narrative that actually made sense because there's context to it. Whereas all of the other things that we've seen are just so out of place, and you just don't understand what's really going on. It seems like they're going even darker and more gritty with the direction in this one, and that's a positive thing. I like that a lot, especially since how dark the first narrative is. Them expanding upon that and causing the world around her to become more violent, have her become more violent, to have it be more bloody and gory, that just isn't just for the sake of making it rated M for mature. It's because she has become darker, because the world around her is now darker because of what happened in the first one. Narratively speaking, I am really enjoying this tone, and I hope they really nail it. And this could potentially be a Game of the Year contender if they let Ninja Theory cook. But that's my thoughts on the Hellblade trailer. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. And then we're going to be talking about the next big announcement, which was OD by Hideo Kojima. And it's not just Hideo Kojima, but no, not just him at all. In fact, Jordan Peele comes out on stage and is in talks about how he is working with Hideo Kojima on helping him create this world. What's even more nuts is that Hideo Kojima himself stated that Jordan Peele is not the only person he's working with, that he's working with other top talents from Hollywood that you would be surprised to hear about. And that is what sold me on this game. I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to sit here and try to fanboy a Hideo Kojima game. I know he has a lot of people who will freaking lick his butt clean if he ever laid a shit in the middle of the street, right? You have these fans that are ravages over everything that he does. Everything he touches turns to gold to some people. I am not one person that proclaims this at all. I have actually never played a Hideo Kojima game. The only Hideo Kojima game I've ever touched was PT, and that has literally been the only Hideo Kojima game I have ever played. But it wasn't Hideo Kojima that sold me, it was Jordan Peele. I think Jordan Peele is one of the masters of horror, and I think he understands how to do horror properly better than most directors nowadays. I think him and Ari Aster are up there in terms of people who are moving the horror genre forward and in unique ways. And to have the mind of Jordan Peele in a Hideo Kojima game that is a horror game in its roots, that is mind-blowing. That is what gets me excited. I love horror games. I am a big fan of that. And so them doing this, having the collaborations that they have in store with the actors that they have, none of them are really actors that I know too well, but they seem to be really loving to work with Hideo Kojima, and everyone loves to seem to be working with this guy. So Hideo Kojima's new game, OD, which is what we assumed was Overdose, that was leaked a year or two ago. And again, people are kind of associating the fact that there was no Xbox tag next to anything involved with the trailer, that they think this might be multi-platform, might be coming to PlayStation, that maybe Xbox is just, you know, making the game for them. I'm not really sure about that. He does state that he really appreciates the work that he's doing with Xbox at the Xbox Game Studios. So if he's calling out Xbox, and he's thanked Xbox multiple times during his speech. So I really do think this will be an exclusive in terms of Xbox Game Pass PC, you know, that type of thing. But they seem to be working a lot with the cloud, and I'm not really sure when this game will be done, because who really knows what the cloud is going to look like? And I don't think right now the cloud is sufficient enough for a mind like Hideo Kojima to be able to sufficiently come out with a product and have it work the way he intends it to. You know, I guess you do have to have people who are treading new ground in order to reach that spot. But at the same time, when will this game release? When will this game come out? And if it does come out, is it going to be a cloud-based game where we're constantly going to have to be connected? Is it going to be like how they said Crackdown 3 was, where they used the cloud to have every building destroyable and yada yada yada? Who really knows? But it's Hideo Kojima and Jordan Peele with potentially even more creators in line. I'm pretty excited about it after this announcement here. And that leads us to the final announcement, which blew me away. I was screaming when I heard this. Blade by Arcane Leon is coming. And that trailer, I had no idea until the very end. I remember I was watching him sit in the seat with the little sharp tooth, and I was like, man, it's like, is that like a vampire? Like, what are they doing? I was like, I don't remember any vampires in Deathloop or Dishonored. I am kind of confused here. And that's when it hit me like a freight train, and I jumped out of my seat, and I was extremely shocked by this. I have no idea beforehand. This is a nice surprise for me. I love the Blade movies, and that's really where I get my love for the character. I hope that they nail this because they really need a win. And I know that Arcane Leon is not Arcane Austin, and I think a lot of people are confusing the two, and they're kind of grouping them together. They're kind of using the Redfall disaster to kind of sour your enjoyment of them having a Blade game. And you have people comparing Blade to Wolverine and Blade to Spider-Man and all this stuff, right? Like it's pathetic, it's annoying, it's just awesome to get a Blade single player game. Like that is something that I don't think ever would have been possible. This is the A-team. These are the guys that did Dishonored, they're the guys that did Deathloop. I'm not the biggest fan of Deathloop, but Deathloop did win over a lot of people. It did win over a lot of critics, and they're a talented team. There are some details about Blade that have come out ever since then, which is it's supposed to be a third-person action-adventure narrative set in Paris, which is really cool, right? That's a very unique environment for Blade. That's not something that I would have ever thought of, kind of having that character be in there. And from the trailer itself, there are some cool little things that I noticed. When the barber cuts his finger, he gets nervous and he tries to hide it because he knows that Blade is, half vampire, half human. He probably knows about the vampire infestation that is currently taking place in that area. And because this is taking place in France, then the studio Leon knows that area. This is something that they probably wanted to work on for a very long time in a setting like that, especially since they're from the area. So that's really cool. Again, the odd thing about this was there was no Xbox marketing. There was no Xbox logo. There was no mention of Xbox. It was mentioned only as Bethesda and Arcane, and there was no mention of Game Pass. But Windows Central has come out with a story stating that Xbox and Bethesda's Arcane Leon reveals Marvel's Blade during the Game Awards 2023. This is by Samuel Tolbert. And what you need to know, Arcane Leon, the developer behind Bethesda Softworks titles like Dishonored 2 and Deathloop, is working on Marvel's Blade. The news broke during the Game Awards 2023, where a trailer showed the infamous Marvel vampire killer. As Arcane Leon is an Xbox studio, Marvel's Blade is being developed exclusively for Xbox Series X and S and Windows PC, and will also launch day one into Xbox Game Pass. So that's coming from Windows Central. If you choose to believe it or not, that's on you. I think that this is going to be an exclusive title, like how Indiana Jones is an exclusive title. I think they worked out a deal with Disney and Marvel to allow this to happen, especially since I think that Blade could use Game Pass. I really do. And I could be wrong. I know that sounds like I'm trashing on Blade. That's not the case at all. I think that Blade, being sort of the middle ground Marvel, it kind of has that nice entry point of, if this game swings very well and it does really good, you're going to have a lot of people joining Xbox Game Pass just to play this game. And I think that's what Xbox wants. I think that's what Xbox needs. And I think that's also what Blade needs, because Blade has never been a top seller for Marvel. It's just never been the case. If you're going to be a top seller, you're going to be Wolverine, you're going to be Spider-Man, you're going to be the Avengers, you're going to be Iron Man. Like, those things are top sellers. Blade, not so much. But regardless, if they are passionate about this, which it already seems like they are from just the way they announced it and they're talking about it, then this game is going to be amazing, especially since it's coming from the people behind Dishonored and Deathloop. Like, they even stated that you're going to be able to play as Blade the way you want to play as him. So, like, that means there's probably going to be stealth elements, there's probably going to be action elements, and you can choose how you go about it, just like how you were with Dishonored. Like, that is awesome. That's what makes that game so great, is the replayability factor and the amount of unique environments and unique encounters that you will come across because of this. That was what blew me away from the show. What do you guys think? Do you think Blade is going to be exclusive? Do you think that maybe they're trying to hide the exclusivity because they're still arguing with the FTC. But when people say that as an argument, it just kind of blows my mind, because I'm pretty sure FTC has all of these documents. They know what games are coming exclusive to Xbox. They know what Xbox plans are, because they have millions of documents telling them everything from emails down to junk mail. Like, that is what they are investigating. So I'm pretty sure they know about this. Do you think that Xbox is going to make it multi-platform, or it's going to be exclusive? And what do you guys think about them not doing a Dishonored 3, not doing a Deathloop 2, but moving on to Blade? What do you think about OD? What do you think about Hellblade? Do you like a generic 2024 release date, or do you want more? And do you think Xbox is really going to be having a 2024 where they're going to be as present as they were in 2023? When's the next showcase? I don't really know. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Leave a comment. Let's have a discussion. So I love talking with you guys. Thanks again. I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. And remember, take it easy.